What's going on, fam? How y'all doing? Good to have y'all in on another installment of TSC Unleased, another playoff edition. NBA basketball at its finest, man, is going down. A lot of really good matchups yesterday. In the world of the playoffs, man, a lot of people starting to catch their ground and bounce back on this one. And glad to have the family chiming in on this one. Please support the stream, hit the like button, subscribe, and share the link on your social media. I'm Big Q, and I'm gonna bring in the contributor, my main contributor on this episode of TSC Unleashed, Uncle Mozzi. What's going on, fam?
I'm good. I'm good as usual. You know how you know what it is. I'm great. Lakers lost, so I'm always fantastic when the Lakers lose.
When the Lakers leave, it might be that kind of world, man. It might be that kind of world. But we're gonna look at some of the games from yesterday, Mozzie, as a lot of really good NBA action occurred yesterday, man. I mean, you look at the fact that, and we're gonna start it off with the Raptors. The Raptors had we know what time that is. It was a little bit more competitive. The Brooklyn Nets came in the matchup. We know the Raptors, who are the defending world champions, are serious about handling business. And yesterday they took care of business against the Nets, 104 to 99. Like I said, it wasn't quite the blowout game that it was the other day, but this time around, still the Raptors, man, still a better team. Clearly, Van Vliet showed up again, 24 and 10. Assists in the matchup in 43 minutes. This guy just plays, just give him all the minutes. He's still productive. Love what he's doing. Lowry playing off of him, 21 points, 9 rebounds in the matchup as well. 24 off the bench from Powell to help. And then Siakam, 19 points, 6 rebounds in 36 minutes for him as well. So the Toronto team, a young, exciting team, not no stars there, man, but some hard work and a good team put together there. Mozzie, what's your thought process on the Raptors taking down the Nets? They're up 2 games to nothing.
Well, I mean, we all knew that they were going to take down the Nets. This is nothing unbelievable or spectacular. I mean, you're the defending champs. Yeah, you did lose Kawhi, but I mean, this is what you're supposed to be doing as the defending champs because if we could all reflect back before Kawhi even got there, you guys already were a contender coming out the East 2 years prior to him being there. So you're eliminating a really banged up, just I mean, dead carcass roadkill waiting for the season to be over with. New Jersey Nets team who can't wait until this season and this whole year is over with, along with the rest of us. I mean, that wasn't any secret to me. I don't know if it was a big secret to everybody else. Maybe some of the fam could chime in, but like, no, I saw this coming way before this even. I don't even. The Nets probably shouldn't even been in the bubble. They probably should have just took like 4 teams out the East and that's it.
I
And
think
started from there.
I think you're absolutely right. This was a team stammering and stumbling around, begging for somebody to put them out of their misery. And the Toronto Raptors said, "Hey, we'll do it. We'll take you out of here. No, no Irvin, no Durant. It's just really a lot of their project players, the players they're trying to develop. Temple, Karras, Levert is another guy. He has 16 points in the matchup. Joe Harris had 14. You have Young Allen at center, who's starting to get some real good minutes. Had 14 points, 15 rebounds, a double double. Is a bright spot in the Brooklyn Nets situation, but you know how it goes, man. You can't win, and sooner or later somebody's going to push him out of here. Let's move on to the next matchup. We're going to talk about a really good matchup. Mozzie, is the fact that the Celtics, guess what? The Celtics, man, they got the Sixers on the rope. Ben Simmons, we know Ben Simmons is not there. We know that they don't have much of anything, man. I'm telling
Nope.
you what. I mean, Joel Embiid in this game, he did a lot better. 34 points, 10 rebounds, and that's pretty good for him. He had 34 points in 34 minutes, so he averaged pretty much a point a minute in this matchup.
Nope.
But he really didn't have much help. Once again, Tobias Harris did not show up. Now, Uncle Maz, we talked about this before, and Tobias Harris, he makes way too much money to be having these pathetic performances. He had 13 points and 11 rebounds in this matchup in 35 minutes. He shot 4-15 from the field or 2 from downtown. He just wasn't. He was a non-factor in this entire game, and they didn't have anything outside of Milton's 14 points at the point guard position. This team, well, actually Richardson's 18. Jay Rich had 18 points to try to help out, but this was not even close. They lose by 27 as the Celtics, 33 from Jason Tatum in 31 minutes. He just showing up big time. Kemba Walker stepped up. He had 22 in the game. Brown had 20 in the game as well. And those three just work so really well together. It's tough to see uh, Philly have a chance without Ben Simmons. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we touched on this when we looked at the playoff predictions and what we thought would happen. Um, before this even started on Monday. Um, and I mean, again, Boston, I selected as a dark horse team coming out of the East. I love Boston. I think that we knew this was going to happen with Philly, and I think that the reason people don't really pay attention to Boston as they do everybody else, even though they're quietly, probably the at this point probably the third or fourth best team in the bubble. Um, they're just a team full of rejects and stars that were once there once shined, but over the last couple years, those stars have lost their brightness and they all landed over in Boston, and they work really well because nobody has this overwhelming ego that I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the second best, I'm shooting for triple doubles, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. The guys go out there and play, and that's how you build winning, successful organizations. If you look at Golden State, that's how they were prior to their run when they began just to take over everything. A couple good young players that were drafted there, a couple OG veterans came over and kind of added to the gumbo, and before you know it, that team was on fire. And that's the same exact situation I see going on with Boston, even though we played without a star. So I mean, it is what it is. To have that kind of performance like that and down one guy, that showed me a lot.
Yeah, they're tough, man, and they're well coached, and they just have it together. I just got to give them all the credit in the world the way they play. They're going to get the Sixers out of here real quick. The Sixers are going to get swept. Brett Brown is going to get fired as well, and they'll move on into the next leg of things. And maybe we can hush this process nonsense out. It was a complete farce where I can brainwash you into believing that we're losing for a purpose. I mean,
Yep.
that's absolutely insane to me. But let's keep it going, man. Another really good matchup I want to talk about on this one, Uncle Mozzie, the fact that the Jazz evened it off with the Nuggets. This was a really good game one, but Donovan Mitchell wasn't having it in the second time around. How Jamal Murray showed him up. He forced the game into overtime. He scored 50 plus points in the first matchup. But this time around, Donovan Mitchell said, no, man, the game is mine. They took him down 124 to 105. Mitchell, he threw in 30 points in this matchup with 8 assists to help his team out. 18 points for Joe Ingles in this one, 19 from Rudy Gobert. 26 points off the bench from Jordan Clarkson, who really stepped up to help him take this team down. In a losing effort, they did have some bright spots for Denver. A 28-point game by Michael Porter Jr., who I think he's fantastic. And then Jokovic had 28 and 11 in the matchup. Of course, Murray he wasn't really his impactful self this game. He finished with 14 points, and they were the only guys. Everybody for Denver didn't put any other. We're in single digits except for Monty Morris off the bench. He did give up 10 points, but 4 guys in double digits for Utah. I mean, for Denver wasn't enough as they lose 124 to 105. Mozzie, thoughts on the fact that Utah even that series with the Denver Nuggets?
Well, going back to our predictions that we had in our prediction show, this again is not anything new to me. We spoken about how Utah and Denver, much like the matchup going on with OKC and Miami, those are in the East. Those are kind of mirror image teams. I did pick Denver to be that not so much of a dark horse, but I did pick Denver to go to the Western Conference Finals and face a beat up and battered, mentally beat up and battered LeBron James led Lakers team. And I think that'll still happen. Obviously, we know that Denver is the third, is the number 3 seed, if I'm not mistaken. We clearly see that the Clippers, they should be down 0-2. They're 1-1 by the grace of God, which I'm sure you'll get to in a minute. But I don't think they'll be there. I think that Denver will overcome this. Again, I don't think that Donovan Mitchell is just going to be Donovan Mitchell. He put up 57 in the first meeting and they still lost. So much like the situation that's going on with Dame Dollar in Portland, if Mitchell doesn't come out and have these tremendous games, I just don't see them being able to beat Denver in a 7 game series. I just don't. Was That's going to require him to come out and put up 40 plus points a game, or just have an overall just shellacking by the team, where almost like where they can't miss, sort of what they were doing last night. I don't see that happening on a repetitive basis. I don't see Donovan Mitchell putting up 40 plus points a game every single game to beat these people in this series. And I'm still sticking to my guns. I like Denver and LA in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I do like this matchup between Utah and Denver, but I think in the long run, I think this is Denver's series. I think I could see them stepping past Utah. I just don't see enough out of Utah between guys, that Rudy Gobert and I know Mitchell can bring, but it almost feels like Mitchell, you know, this team is not designed with Mitchell to play that way. They have to play as a team to win games. And when he goes off for what he did, like he put up 50 plus points and they still lost, that really put in his head, see, you're acting like a superstar here and you carry the team. But if we play as a team, we could win, and you don't have to burn yourself out to do it. So I agree with you on that. And Utah's never played that way. They never played like a big star team. Even when we had Stockton and Malone, they were a combo unit that played within the team based concept. They wasn't a superstar guy running around taking 3 point shots, getting to the hoop like Donovan Mitchell is. So it'll be interesting to see how Quinn Snyder, the mob boss, gets involved there and be able to do things. Okay, let's move to the really good game of the night, which was the Dallas Mavericks matchup against the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers came away with the first matchup, uh, and to the chagrin of a 40 plus effort by Luka Doncic. Man, the Clippers took that game away. Now, many people, including myself, say that if Kristaps Porzingis wasn't thrown out of that game, Dallas would have won that game. I still reserve that fact. Nevertheless, the series, they took the first game, the second game. Dallas says, "Listen, we're coming to play," and they beat them 127 to 114. Luka Doncic led the scoring for the Mavericks. He finished with 28 points in the matchup, 28.7 assists, 8 rebounds. The kid's awesome in 28 minutes of action. The second leading scorer, of course, was 23 from Porzingis. He played the entire game this time, 23 points and 7 rebounds in 36 minutes. He played well. 17 from Hardaway, who was a nice piece to this. A lot of people not talking about Hardaway Jr. being there, but he is a really nice compliment to Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, because you can play him at either the 2 or the 3 or whatever you need. Off the bench, they even got production from guys like Trey Burke, who I criticized in the first matchup. Had Trey Burke brought this level of production, they more than likely could have won the game as well. 15 from Curry, who was balling the first game, 16 from Burke, 13 from Marjanovic. And then if you look at what the Clippers did, 35 points from Leonard in this game, Mozzie. 35
Yep.
points, 10 rebounds, and 41 minutes. This guy was balling. Unfortunately, Paul George struggled in this one. He struggled mightily in it for them. Finished with 14 points on 4 of 17 shooting from the field, and an even more disastrous 2 of 10 from downtown. He finished with 14 points, 10 rebounds in 32 minutes. And then, of course, Morris finished with 14, 11 from Jackson. Then he had a 23-point outing off the bench from Lou Williams, 10 from Harrell. Not enough. They go down 127, 114. Your thoughts on that?
Well, same thing. I mean, as we always, you got to be able to stop Luca, and at this point, they just simply don't have an answer for him. He was able to get to the basket at will, and the success he had, I guess everybody kind of piggybacked off, or to be honest, it almost looked like he exploited it and exposed chinks in their armor, in the defensive armor, because we're supposed to have some of the like the top 5 wing defenders of all time in Kawhi and PG-13, or so they say. And I mean, Luca just doesn't see it. He's able to just, at will, just go to the cup. And I think everybody else is following suit. And they're just going to the cup at will, and they're just doing pretty much what they want to do. This is one of those load management issues when you don't play and you got arthritic knees, and you guys have only played together what 16, 17 games as a total complete healthy unit all season. You got one of you got one of your starters. hanging out at strip clubs, talking about he was going to get chicken wings, and I mean, bro, it's just it's just the writing's on the wall for these guys, man. And it's sad to say because I'm a big Doc Rivers fan, but I don't know what he could. It's been this way in LA for the great value LA team since he's been there. I mean, even when you look at Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and the team they had there, I mean, that was a pretty good team. Now that team probably should have made a lot more noise than it did. I mean, I understand that Golden State was a monster, but I mean, OKC had this same monster down 3 games to 1, so it wasn't like they were unbeatable. And I think the Clippers had the team that could have beat them. It's just something about the Clippers teams, man. It's just something about the great value team out in LA, man. They're scared to win. I don't know.
Yeah, it was it most interesting, bro. To be honest with you, man, how they played this game. And obviously you can point to Paul George's lack of pointage. His point production could have helped out had he put up north of 20. This could have very well been more of a competitive game for the Clippers. He struggled, but like you said, when you're playing Luka Doncic and you look at the talent that the Clippers have overall, the good coaching from Doc Rivers, and then you look at Rick Carlisle, who's no slouch either. And he has Luka Doncic, who has the ability to not only score but rebound and get other people involved. With Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn, and then really solid role pieces like Tim Hardaway Jr. And then you got guys off the bench like Steph Curry's brother Seth Curry and
Seth,
Trey Burke
Seth
and the
went
rest of this
off.
guy. That's what I'm saying. The bench is really dangerous. They can catch fire at any given time. And the Dallas Mavericks was a dark horse team I picked because of Luka Doncic's ability to get this team involved. And man, they looked pretty. They should have won the first matchup. Like I said, if it wasn't for Porzingis getting thrown out of the game, they would have won that matchup and would have been 2 up on the Clippers. But the series is even, is 1-1 again, and we'll see what it looks like in Game 3. Can the Mavericks take control and possession of this series heading forward? We'll see. We'll see,
I
but
believe so.
I
I
believe
believe
so
so.
too. I think so
One
too.
one big issue that the Clippers have got to realize, if you're gonna put that kind of pressure on one of your all stars to basically contain Luca, which is one of their all stars, if you're gonna wipe that out, nullify it, somebody's got to pick up those offensive points somewhere. Somebody's got to pick up that offensive production because you got PG-13 in a rotation with LeBron James, but mostly PG-13 is responsible for guarding Luca. He didn't do a great job, but he's still expounding a lot of energy on that side of the ball, and you can't ask him to come on the other side and put up 25, 30 points. So somebody's got to step up.
That's right, and that's a great point to say that, Mozzie, because that's the reality. Is that somebody else definitely has to step up and help out. Lou Williams did what he did. Harrell chunked in 10 points, but they need some other players to get involved to kind of help out that. And let's see what Doc River what he could pull out of his little bag of tricks to see what he can inspire the Clippers, who a lot of people pick the Clippers to be up there. Let's see if they can match with the Mavericks. These some good matchups, man. I really do. Okay, let's move to the next matchup that happened earlier today. And of course, the Miami Heat took possession of the series between them and the Pacers. Now, this was one of these series I thought would go, 6 or 7 games because of the closeness of how these teams look. They really are close in terms of how the styles of play, and they're really good coach teams. But once again, Spoelstra showing that he's one of the serious coaches in this game. 109-100, they took the Pacers down again. They now own the series 2 games to nothing. 24 points from Robertson today. He was the top scorer for the Heat. 20 from Goran Dragic. And it's when Jimmy Butler had 18 points, a casual 18 points in the matchup. 15 off the bench from Hero. And then 10 from Crowder, 7 from Bam Adebayo. And the Pacers, I mean, the Heat did it with a lot of good defense against this team. Warren, who's been one of the top scorers, he only had 14 in this game. Victor Oladipo, credit to him, did play in this matchup. In 37 minutes, he scored 22 points, which was the lead for his team. 17 from both Turner and Brogdon in the matchup, but nothing else. 12 from Aaron Holiday. But if you look at the bench, not one person was able to put up any double digits. Sampson lead the bench with 8 points. They go down 109-100 in this series. Heat are up 2 games to none. Mozzie, what's your thoughts on this one here? This is kind of a bit of a surprise, don't you think?
Yes and no. First of all, I mean, shout out to Miami and what they've been able to keep going. although they lost so much over the years. Eric Spoelstra is now the winningest coach in Miami Heat basketball history, and that's saying a lot considering that the Miami Heat had Pat Riley coaching them at one time.
That's right.
Yeah, so for Spoelstra to be the winningest coach in Miami Heat history, that's saying a lot about that franchise, and it's saying a lot about the management for the culture, the winning culture they've developed down there in that franchise over the last decade or so. So, it was something I haven't seen with Indiana. Um, Sporadically, or maybe once or twice over the last decade. This is the Indiana team that you had systematically over the last decade. They do really, really well in the regular season, at least well enough to get to the dance. They'll give you 48, 45 to 50, 55 wins. But when they get to the dance, it's always an issue. They never have a date, or they waste something on their tuxedo, or the limo wasn't there in time. So, like, every single time it's time for them to go to the dance and actually showcase who they are. They're always a different team in the postseason. There should be nothing new, and I mean, I hate to say this to any Indiana fan that might be out there, but every Indiana fan that's out there, you guys know we've been going through this for a decade plus. Something's got to give in the postseason in order for you guys to advance. I didn't think Miami would be on the verge of sweeping because that's what it looks like it's going to be because it almost looks as though they've taken their soul after what I just witnessed today. So I don't know. I think that Miami's gonna probably take if they don't sweep it, they'll take it in five for sure, and they'll be waiting for the next round opponent. And for Indiana, they got to figure out what they're gonna do, man, with this postseason. You know, they're maybe one or two pieces away, but maybe a coaching change, maybe a I don't know upper level management change. I don't know, but something's got to give for them to get over that first or second round hump that's been plaguing them for about a decade now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There are several different occurrences that happen, whether they're injuries, whether something always screwy happens into them, and is Nate McMillan the head coach of the team? So they have a good coach in McMillan. Isn't McMillan still over this team? Five, is he still there? I
Yeah,
want.
yeah, he is, he is, he
Okay,
is.
so that they have a terrific coach in McMillan, man. I don't know. Even Larry Bird couldn't only take this team so far when he took over as a coach, and he had to drop back into the general manager role before he left the organization. But it's always something, man, and they've done a pretty good job of putting pieces together. But it's just you're competing in the East, and a lot of people see that the Pacers could do a little bit better. Turner has developed; they got a really good steal in T.J. Warren. Holiday will get better over time. Victor Oladipo is the star. He's the guy that's sending, and you know what? And if you think about it, it's got to be tied to Victor Oladipo. He is the star of this team. This team goes as far as he goes. If he's not there, and he's been dealing with a lot of injuries as of late, if he is not there, then they are not a team that can push higher or deeper into the playoffs. He needs to remain healthy, and he needs to play with more of an intense and a focus and get that team together in that direction. So we'll see how it goes. But Miami's up 2 games to none, man, and one more win could push them clear, take control of the series, and make it real tough for the Pacers to rebound. All right, now let's go to our current matchup that's going on as we speak right now in the center of the third quarter. 61-61 tie, man, between the OKC Thunder and the Houston Rockets, man. So a lot going on in the tussle between these two teams as the Rockets took the first game and they're looking to try to take and seize the control of the second game. Of course, we know that in this matchup, Westbrook is not playing as well, but it's still very competitive as the Rockets are doing what they usually do. Harden in this matchup kind of struggling a bit, 2 of 11 from the field. He 1 of 8 from downtown. Currently 8 points. Him, Gordon, and Covington are with 8, the top leader. As actually 2 guys, PJ Tucker and Austin Rivers, both have 11 points, 61. Chris Paul for OKC has 10, 13 for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and 10 off the bench from Schroeder, who is playing in the matchup. He didn't play in the first one, by the way, but he's playing now. Gallinari also has 13 points in the matchup and 1 of 2. So 1 of 5 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from downtown. 62-61 right now. 5. Who takes this game and why?
Well, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go with Houston. Even if OKC takes this game, I'm gonna go with Houston. But even if OKC takes this game, I just think it's gonna be rough for them going throughout the series. I think that they should have come out. and definitively established dominance over this team without Westbrook being, for 2 games, all for 2 games. And if you can't assert your will on a team without their second best player, and in some instances their best player, if you can't assert your will over that team, then I mean, if Westbrook comes back, I just don't, or if Houston goes up 2-0, I just don't see a scenario where OKC has enough wherewithal and enough mental toughness and confidence to shake back and come back and beat a team that they with a full roster that they couldn't beat without one of arguably a top 10 player in the NBA as it sits right now with Westbrook. And you guys are letting like Austin Rivers, who's probably never found success in the NBA at all, especially in the playoffs. You're allowing him to kind of sneak in and backdoor, make a couple shots, and between him and a couple other guys, they're making up for the lack of production that they would otherwise get out of Westbrook.
Yeah, they got to take advantage, man. Definitely, they have Chris Paul is healthy, man. That's been his sticking point in the playoffs. He disappears, but he's been healthy. Now we this team is. I'm thinking this team is overachieving, and that's my call. I think the Thunder are a difficult team. Chris Paul, a lot of people didn't think that he would fit there, that he would hold back Alexander, who was supposed to be occupying the point guard position, but it actually is working out. I like how Donovan's using and mixing up his lineup to create issues or problems for teams. And remember, this team won 44 games this year, and they're in the playoffs. And the Houston Rockets have a lot of firepower, but that's the thing. Can Harden keep this up? And can he get? I know he can, do his thing. But what about the other guys? What about the Covingtons? What about the Houses? What about the Gordons? What about the Greens who came alive in the first game? In this game, he's stinking up the place. 17 minutes, 1 of 4 from the field, 0 for 2 for downtown for 2 points. But this guy exploded for 20 plus points in the first game. That's the topsy turvy nature of people like Jeff Green and McLemore, who are former first round picks but can't maintain the level of consistency. Right now, the Rockets are trying to separate themselves. They're up 67-61 on the Thunder. Now, of course, let's move five to our final matchup, which is where all the bread is buttered. I guess you want well, actually, no, we have another matchup we take a look at before we get to the main matchup, and that's the Thunder and the Bucks. Now, I mean, excuse me, the Magic and the Bucks. The Magic stole Game 1, 5. They stole it away from them, surprised the Bucks. I'm expecting the Bucks to come into this thing and slap the hell out of the Magic, slap them down, and take control of this series. And you could possibly see like a 4-game runaway series where they take them out in 5. What is your perception on this?
Hey man, anything's possible. Listen, when you give somebody with absolutely nothing to lose that kind of confidence, uh, then I guess they're still playing. I guess at home, if that makes sense, or it's not. I mean, maybe the bubble is so taxing on them because I guess their family may still be in the vicinity. I don't know what it is that these people have going on, but for them to do what they did to Milwaukee, even with the Bucks having a bad game, it shouldn't have been that what I witnessed a couple days ago. So I mean, hey, everybody loves a good fight, man. Everybody, listen. My favorite part of Back to the Future is when George McFly knocked Biff out. So if I could see that again, I'd love to watch that again. If Orlando wants to do it, I'd love to see it. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall anyway, going forward to the postseason with especially if they don't win a championship, as far as a trade going down, an inevitable trade going down with Milwaukee anyway for Antetokounmpo. So I mean, let's see what Orlando can do. I love a good fight.
Yeah, they have you. You're absolutely right. They are the literal definition of nothing to lose and just throw it all to the wind and see what happens. Unfortunately, the team that they're matching up again will not allow you to game steam on. You stole the first game from them, but trust me, Giannis will pull those guys together. And Coach Bud up there is an excellent coach, and it's showtime now. They just needed a slap in the face, and I think that's what the Magic provided. And watch what the Bucks look like after this matchup. 5 o'clock Central Time, it's going to be firing off. And of course, let's move to the final preview of our NBA playoff talk, and it's the Trailblazers once again, Mozzie. It's the
Hmm.
Trailblazers and the Lakers, man. The first time around, Trailblazers took it from them, and a masterful effort from Dame Lillard. He had 34 points in the matchup, was shooting the ball from 32 plus feet and all this kind of stuff. 100-93 took the Lakers down. They're in control of the series. me and you talked about the fact that this team is totally the wrong matchup for a LeBron team that can't do anything with Lillard or McCullough. And then, of course, if you can throw Carmelo how he played and him stepping his game up, it's going to be difficult for them to do anything with this team. 8 o'clock tonight Central Time. What happens in this matchup? Who wins?
Um, Man, again, this is another tough one. I think that Portland is in a much better situation to win. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to look for it right now. There was a comment made or an excuse dropped. I don't know if it was by LeBron or if it was by one of the Lakers team. There was something I saw in passing yesterday, saying that the background scenery is affecting the shots in the bubble. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I heard somebody was talking about that. I heard somebody was mentioning that,
And I'm
complaining
like,
about it.
man,
I did hear that.
that's insane to me, man. You are a professional athlete getting paid millions of dollars to perform on this stage. This is what you're getting paid for. So the background scenery, I should be able to take you to Punch a Train Park and we can play a game out of there. You know, for what your role is, how much money you're making, what you're designing, what you've studied and done all your life, and you're telling me that because the scenery isn't the normal scenery that it's affecting your shot that much so to where you're losing when you got other people like D. Lil who's hitting it from 40 feet away. And you got all of these other guys. Ja Morant had an unbelievable. He was already an unbelievable talent, but with the exception of maybe one or two games in the bubble, his everything was lights out, including his shooting. So how would you explain that? I don't know. Lakers got a lot. They've got a lot to work on and a lot to figure out. And they only got a couple hours to do it because I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this. Portland goes up 2-0 against LA, man, you're gonna see I don't know if you ever remember the old cartoon when the string was hanging and the guy grabbed the string and the person started walking and all of their clothes came off. That's what this is gonna be because they're gonna unravel really, really quickly down 2-0 against an eight-seeded team who all year long they've looked at as being like a stepchild of that whole Western Conference.
Yeah, that's a funny analogy to be honest with you, Mozzie, because I've seen that the cartoon before, and that was made famous in the old Three Stooges skits back in the day when they just ripped all of the stitching out of the clothes, and then they make one move, the clothes fall apart. So I mean, so yeah, that could be a very unusual analogy, but that is definitely spot on because LeBron James is going to have to think of something here, man. Anthony Davis
You
and the
better.
rest of them. And a lot of people are betting, against the Lakers, man. A lot of people are betting against the Lakers. How this whole thing went down with Anthony Davis wanting to run out there and play with LeBron, the way the brainless way he did the whole situation. And it's a shame. But we'll see how it shakes, man. We'll see what's going on because even though the NBA, a lot of people say that the NBA wants to see the Lakers there, that will do you no good if they can't get past Portland because the referees can't help but make shots, and if it's too competitive, they can't adjust the game no matter what without it being obvious. So we'll see how it shakes, man. But a lot of people says Portland, looking for Portland. If Lillard struggles in this matchup, you possibly could see the Lakers gain ground here. But really, it's the backcourt of Portland and what they can do here that'll be an advantage here. Okay, family.
Whiteside has been giving LeBron a lot of problems too. So if Whiteside comes out and have a big game, because LeBron couldn't get to the rim at all, and the shot was off, and that was the biggest like turning point of that game. By the way, uh, I told you guys the other day, and it goes out to Kevin. I told you guys the other day that you gotta hold this man to under 35 points. You gotta hold him to 25 points or lower to win. If he gets 25, 30, 25, 35, 45 points, you're gonna lose all day. We went over that the other day, and it came to fruition. LeBron, you got to step up and do better. Shout out, Kevin. I'm here.
All right. All right, Rockets up 69-61. 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter right now. Like I said, the Rockets trying to get that two-game lead over top of the Thunder here and a chance to push them out. All right, that's NBA basketball talk. We're going to move into our final story of today's show, and that is, of course, dealing with the NFL and wide receiver Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant left the Ravens workout without a contract. It's interesting because a lot of people have been following Dez Bryant. He's been doing a lot of talking, a lot of squawking but not too much has been happening in the basketball side of things. He's 100% healthy according to various reports, and he did go up to trial for the Baltimore Ravens. He went up there for a couple of days. People thought that was positive, but it just been deemed and reported by the NFL's Kevin Patra that Bryant has left Baltimore without a contract. So NFL Ian Rappaport and Garofalo reported Thursday that Bryant is expected to depart without a deal, and nothing is imminent per sources informing the situation. Neither side has ruled out a deal later on, but there won't be an immediate move on the Ravens' part right now. Now, Bryant has traveled to Baltimore this week. He took the C19 test and worked out for the team on Thursday. Now, you know, he had these Achilles injuries that shorted his career. He signed with the Saints, ultimately hurt himself and hadn't been in football since then. But according to what he's saying, his people and other reports, he is completely healthy and ready to contribute. What's your thoughts on that, Mozzie, man? Des Bryant.
Hey, listen, man, listen. I'm gonna be honest, and I mean, hey, this goes back to the old 48 laws of power. I ain't gonna quote the law because I don't want. I know this is not the show for that. But what I will say is, man, I'd much rather pick up a friend than develop an enemy. And I understand everything Baltimore is saying, but man, would it be a travesty if they get this guy down in Tampa or get this guy down in Carolina for basically peanuts, pennies on a dollar, damn near league minimum contract, and we got to see him twice a year. When we at the position and at the point right now and have the money that we can actually get that. So
I,
I don't know.
I don't think we need him, man. I think
I'd rather have him than not, need him and not have him than have him and not need him. You know what I'm one of those type of situations.
well, I mean, it might have been the case if Fowler wasn't the guy that the Saints was looking to, but I don't see a role with Des Bryant and the Saints, at least for right now. You never know. Like you said, never say never, and we'll see how that shakes on the other side of things. So, but that'll do it for the show today, fam. We'd like to thank y'all for joining TSC Unleashed today on the shows. We cover the NBA playoffs. Please check with us. Come back tomorrow. We'll have another TSC as we recap what happened with the LeBron James affair and these other matchups. Then preview ahead some more NBA news as well as other sporting news. So for me, Big Q and Mozzie 5, we thank you for joining. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you aren't a subscriber. And feel free to share the leaks on your social media and support TSC Unleashed. Now, programming note family will return later on at 6:30 for TSC, the Sports Coma, Day 3 Saints Camp, news, notes, interviews. We'll cover that later on today. So from me and Mozzie, I appreciate y'all for joining us. Peace. We out.
We out.